Okay, everyone, we're back. It must be Wednesday at 1 here on the Eastern Seaboard. My name is Allison Lee, your host here at Fun at 1, our free fun webinars once a week right now where we talk about fun stuff that you want to make, do. Fantastic teachers come on and share all kinds of great tips and techniques and ideas as well as products that you might want to get. I want to give you just a quick few commercials and a little bit of background. First off, if for some reason, if you can still hear me now, you should be seeing a sign that says Fun at One with Cindy Pope and Allison Lee. That means you have found the GoToWebinar presentation. If you lose that, you're like, wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Go into your bar where you have all your icons. Look for the one that's orange with like a white flower or white snowflake. And if you hit that first, it'll bring the presentation forward again. So no worries. If for some reason you lose sound, that means your Wi-Fi probably wavered. When we show videos, depending on how strong your Wi-Fi is, they can look a little animated. In the recordings, they always run full speed. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? You'll get an email. It goes out usually the end of the day. It depends on how fast we can get the recording uploaded into the My Library at craftcast.com. You do have to go in to craftcast.com and purchase for free today's recording. That's the only way it can end up in your library. If you're not buying anything else, no worries. It won't ask you for any money information. You just purchase it for free and it'll be in your library where you can stream it. You can download a little smaller file if you need to watch offline. Also today we'll have, besides the handout in there, we will have some files that Cindy wanted to get to you to use. So there'll be some other goodies in there. Any problems figuring any of that out, just go to support@craftcast.com and we will help you maneuver through any of that type of thing. Don't forget, we've just continued our coupon code because, darn it, we need to get more classes to everyone. So 30% off coupon code SPRING 2020. I believe that for people who are creative, we need to have this in our life right now. All around the world, I hear from everyone, it's stressful. And if you can find a way to remove a little stress so you can cope with the rest of the world, I think that's really important. So enjoy that coupon code. And again, any questions, just support@craftcast.com and we'll help you out there. Want to know anything more about a class or any of that type of thing. Also coming up, I just want to show you, we have some really cool live classes still coming up. This Saturday, I was just talking before we started, is Deb Hart's Pattern Trinket Box in polymer clay. They look complicated. Check them out. I swear to you, I'm really bad at these things, and I can do it after her class. She really breaks everything down. Love that. Then coming up on the 10th is Deb Karash is doing these freaking gorgeous, also mixed metal flowers. I mean, this is metal smithing. It's fabulous. Shara Shriver doing some more polymer clay work. Hadar Jacobson doing 3D metal clay, then back to some polymer. Next week on our Fun at One is Robert Danzig doing resin, along with something that Pam East will show with follow-up classes on resin, because I know we've been all really excited about resin. If you were on for, I forget which Fun at One it was, but heard Alicia Hart doing those wonderful embossed pewter boxes, she has a class coming up. Oh, gorgeous. You're going to love that. And then also, Gail Crossman Moore is... she just showed me what she's working on. If you're not familiar with her work, look it up. She takes it all. Materials, colors, inks, felting, beads, resin. She has these beautiful hearts coming up that she's going to make. Anyway, we have great stuff coming up. I want to thank our sponsor at Cool Tools for sponsoring us these past few weeks. Lots of the supplies, and we put their link in your handout. Lots of the supplies you can get at Cool Tools, and we just love them. You know, we don't talk about anyone we don't love who has great customer service, period, end of story. So we love them. They're great to work with and get your all your tools from. And hi, everyone coming on and saying hello to me. I really appreciate that. Again, if you're not seeing the presentation, just look for the orange circle in your dock with the white flower. Hit that. It'll bring the presentation forward. You guys can all see that, right? Let me just do a quick double check with all of you. You can see the Cool Tools logo there, I'm assuming. Yep. Thank you, Katie. So that's that. Did I tell you everything? We've got the coupon code coming up. Just so you know also, one of the reasons thanks Max, one of the reasons we increased all of our live classes coming up is all of our teachers, they lost their income from all of their live events that they were teaching in workshops. So this is a way to supplement their income to get their workshops still out there. So it's a win-win from everyone. People still get to take classes, teachers make money. I love showing everyone's tools that they have made and they're selling. It's a good thing all the way around. So that's that. All right. So today, all of you Silhouette users, we have the guru on. Just saying, she's going to show us in a few minutes some goodies with the Silhouette. She's going to show us actually, which I think is so great, if you're working with metal clay, how to use your Silhouette for paper cutouts to check everything. I just love paper cutouts too. So we're going to show you that. She's going to show you how to do something very important with your Curio tools to make sure they're aligned. We love our Silhouettes and our Cricuts, but we also know that there's so much more information out there to learn from. So we love having classes that show off these kind of things. And a lot of these ideas, I see, Lisa, you just wrote in, yes, a lot of the ideas work with the Cricut. The machine is the machine. All the machines use what's called SVG files. So when you can make it, which just stands for a scalable vector art. Did I say that right? SVG, scalable vector art. Graphic, sorry, that's why the G was wrong. So if you can do that, you're in good shape. Barbara, can you also use the Brother Scan Cut if you don't have the Silhouette? I'm not sure, but let's bring that up again when Cindy is talking. It's all about the file. If you can put an SVG file in, you're good to go. And we've sort of thought that the Silhouette software is the easiest for designing and saving those SVG files. So that's why we use that here. I've tried using the software that they recommend. If you want to design more with the Cricut, it's a bear, and I'm really good at software. So I would stick to the Silhouette. All right, so let me start off first, though, with, I just wanted to show you two books. Hold on one second. I just want to take a little drink of water. Okay, so anyone into looking for a book they wanted to read? I found this one. Britt Marie Was Here. I saw it in the library, actually. I love going to the library. And then before I took it out, I did the sample read in my on my iPad, and I fell in love with it. And here's why I'm bringing it up today. The woman right there, Britt Marie, she is, I'm going to put quote, peculiar, end quote. And it's written from her point of view. And I find that delightful to have the person that you are, the lead character, I forget the technical term right now for that, with a quirk and a peculiar approach. First person. Thank you, Cindy. I found it delightful. It is translated, I believe, from Swedish. And I just thought it was really cool. I'm not familiar at all with the motion picture, but I love the book. So I'm going to just put that out there. There's a link in the handout, so you can get that if you like. Oh, you do love O. Yay. A Man Called Ove is fabulous too. I'm reading that next. Thank you, Laura. Really fun book. Easy to read, uplifting. These are the things I like right now. Here's the other one. I'm just going to do creative thinking. Let me just do a quick video. Here, okay. Who's familiar with the magazines Calm, C-A-L-M? I don't think they're making them anymore. Maybe they are. I can't remember if that one closed or not. But I do like a lot of their publications. But this one is by them. Let me just run the video. I'll show you a few of the pages. Ta-da! What's fun in here is if you have kids or grandkids, there's lots of fun things to do. This has mazes and games and I know boost your brain mind games. I always fall for mind games. I find it really fun. So there's fun things to do. There's pullouts, information to read, finding the meaning of music you just saw. It has lots of stuff to keep you occupied and also play and understand design. I think it's fun, and it's called Creative Thinking. They make a few different publications under Calm, but then different names on top. But I think it's even inspiring, like that honeycomb you just saw there. You could have done something on the Silhouette. Here is this fold-out poster that's in there. I mean, it's fun stuff to do with kids as well, which I think is helpful right now. I think that was a whole like maze game in there. So anyway, check that out. I always just like sharing some fun other things that are out there down the rabbit hole. That's where we all go, down the rabbit hole with fun things. So I'm a sucker for these, and I just like sharing it all. It is no fun. Did you guys see that video? Let me just double check. I just want to make sure technical is going. Mags, did you just see that little video? Yep. Okay, good. So let's see, Colleen, just make sure you've gotten your webinar presentation up front that you can see it, which if you hit that little orange circle with the white snowflake, it should bring it forward. So that's that, creative thinking. There's a link in there in the handout if you're interested, and there's all kinds of fun stuff like that. So I just wanted to show you guys that because I thought it was fun, creative thinking. All right, now to go on to the big presentation of the day, Ms. Pope. I'm just going to say a little bit about her first. She's laughing in the background. She wrestles this machine to the ground and then shares with us how to do everything. She's actually stayed here with me once and did the whole leather class where she does the whole leather embossing and engraving and staining and all of that. It's magic. I'm just going to tell you, she's really good. So you'll just love that. Will you have access to this video after the live? You will. You will, Joe. You'll get everything that you need. So there's lots of Cindy's classes in the handout. Again, just hit support at craftcast.com. We'll help you with anything. But she's going to walk us through first this idea of paper cutouts and design. And she just has to talk about it because I can't give it justice. So Ms. Pope, thank you for coming on and showing us all of this.
Thanks, Allison.
You know it's always a pleasure.
So this, the first little, I'm going to do a little pretty video, and then we're going to do the tool alignment. But then afterwards, we have some really fun other paper cutout things. So don't get bogged down in the middle with the tool alignment. But it is important if yours is out of alignment. So this is a video that I did. It's one of the bonuses from the Silhouette Design Camp that I did in 2018, and I'm working on a upcoming one. So I'm going to show you pretty much how this works. So what I'm doing in this particular video is I'm testing my leather cuff for size in paper, and then I'm doing like a teacher's presentation. I am not spatial at all. Many of my students are not spatial at all. And so when I tell them we're doing a layered piece and we're going to do this and that, and if I don't have a million prepared expensive metal clay pieces, it's really hard for them sometimes to visualize. And I understand that because that's pretty much how I am. So can we pause it for a second?
Yep.
Okay. So what I do is have a big size like model in paper. And then sometimes if it's really complicated, I give every student a little cutout for them to play with. So that's kind of what I do, and it's fun and they're colorful and they're big and people can touch them without breaking. I've had I used to do step-by-step metal clay, and I've had them break right before the class when I traveled, and this is not going to break. So
I think paper is such a great idea to test for. I mean, I love working with paper, and then testing what things might look like or your proportions is a great idea.
Yeah, paper's easy. So this is the conical cuff design that we did in design camp, and I think it was on day 3. And so I need to test to make sure it's going to fit around my wrist nicely, if I like the thickness, if I like how it looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in this case, I'm thickening up the outside red line. So I'm ungrouping, thickening up the red line. You don't need to do that. You can leave them at 0, and then you just won't see the line when you print it out. And then the other thing you have to do, this is something that's been already prepared for the Silhouette software. So I have done a line fill in that pretty Hawaiian pattern, but I need to fill that with black because it doesn't see a line with a 0 thickness when you print. And in order to print, I need to change to 8.5 by 11. And in the newer softwares, you also have to make sure your mat says 8.5 by 12. You didn't have to at this time because it doesn't believe that you have 8.5 by 11 unless you have told it that. You want to make sure your portrait viewpoint, so you make sure you're going up and down. And then you just print it to your printer. This one I actually printed on Costco cardstock, but what I really like the Recollections cardstock at Michael's. It comes in a million colors and they have a nice, reasonable pack in white. So that's what I'm using now. And the setting is a little bit different. So because the Curio always loads in the right place, if you put it perfectly on the grid, you're going to be really close. And I always bray it down because it's easier to move things with little parts if you've brayed it down. We actually, always load in the right place, but you want to be careful to kind of pay attention to where it's going. Your printer could be off a little bit. If your printer's off, it's not going to cut in the right place. But in my t-shirt class, I'm going to teach you how to use registration marks.
Oh, I was just going to ask you about that. Okay.
Well, I have never taught it because it's scary, but it's really not.
It's not. It's not.
I'm going to teach you that. So before we cut paper, and when we've been cutting a lot of paper, you can sharpen your knife. My friend, Paula, who's a wonderful metal clay artist and a curio whiz, she came up with this idea to sharpen your blades. And what we do is we take the top off and then we slice across extra strength Reynolds wrap, which I can't get anymore, so I'm using regular Reynolds wrap. But what it does is it sharpens the blade. This works better with the original ratchets than the ones that are a little harder steel, the white premium blade. When you screw the top, so you take it down to 0, you sharpen. When you screw the top back on, make sure it's screwed all the way. If you don't screw it all the way down, the blade's not going to stick out far enough. So I'm going to take this up to 4, but with the Recollections paper, I'm using a 3, and you'll see that in the last video we do. Carefully lock it into place with the fin forward, and then send to the silhouette, and it's going to cut it out. So when we're ready to cut, we have to go back to the mat looking like the Curio. And I've done that. You should see that in detail in the last video, but I'm going to choose red only. So I uncheck everything. My blade is in the left-hand holder. If you know about the Curio software, it's got 2 holders. So the left-hand holder is always where I put my blade. And I almost always use the color of red for cutting because that's the default color. I no longer switch it to sketch pen. I always use cut now. So cardstock plain cut. And then I up the pressure from 20 to 23 just because I feel like it cuts a little bit better. So here we go.
Now, you said you always set it to cut just then when you were the last?
Yes,
okay.
This video says sketch.
Okay, but now you always do cut.
Yeah, I learn things all the time, and sketch probably won't hurt anything, but I feel like setting it to cut is working well. And I'm sure there was a reason at the time.
Got it.
But here it is.
Isn't that great?
And so instead of messing up the size in leather, I can test this out, and we're going to test it in the next video. But first, we're going to cut the flower.
Now, someone wrote me a question about afraid to test the leather. Here you go. Here's the way to do it.
Yeah. And there's that conical cuff. There's a whole video on doing that design. And then there's a whole separate bonus video on leather and all the different patterns you can do. And it's a really comprehensive video.
You know what? I figured out it's like 6 hours, I think, of stuff in that.
I couldn't stop.
I know. So I'm just saying to everyone,
yeah,
it's the boot camp by Cindy in Silhouette, and I'm just telling you have hours of everything. And she's actually done a table of contents today, and there's 30% off. Just do it. It'll be your summer vacation. You'll learn everything.
Yeah, a lot of my students took it 10 minutes at a time, and it's got design techniques, but it's also got projects. So it's pretty darn fun, I think.
Yeah, it
It
is.
was hard work, but doing it was a blast with Allison. We had a good time.
We did.
So what I'm doing is I'm cutting out these flowers. Now I made a little bit of a mistake, and I made the red lines
Hmm.
on the pattern line too. So you always want to only cut out red, but it's okay because I actually ended up liking the way it looked.
Okay, so a mistake worked in your favor.
Well, yeah, and I used to get extremely stressed out with mistakes, more with metal clay.
Sure.
But with paper, you can always do it again. It's pretty
Yeah.
easy, pretty
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Okay, so all of these you printed them first, and now you've put it back in to cut them all out.
Yeah, and this is another one from the design camp. I teach you all how to do these rotate designs and turn them into flowers.
Yeah, it's fun.
And so this was just one of the projects that I did, and I thought this would be. I do layered pieces all the time in class with stones. So I thought this is a really good example piece
Mm-hmm.
to show people how to put it together in class.
Mm-hmm. I love the leather coasters down in the lower right there too.
Oh yeah. I had those. My work surf. I was doing a lot of filming for that class, so you'll see the leather coasters again in a second. So I test and make sure it came up, which it cut beautifully. And sometimes, especially when I'm filming, I'll take the mat off because the platform, which we love the platform because it is hard and it does a great cut. Sometimes I'll just take the mat off and work with that. And one thing I didn't do in this class, but if you want to, you can also pull these up with a tissue blade. Careful not to cut yourself, but a tissue blade works really nice for pulling these pieces up.
They have that tool that I thought is good too. That little spatula one seems to work.
Oh yeah, it does. Okay, so now we're going to put it together. So there's the leather stuff from the leather bonus video where I had to show you how to do everything because I've always wanted to do an anatomy of a leather design. And so for this class, we actually put one together, and I had a lot of fun making it. So here's all my pieces. So this is a big demo, but I also wanted to show you down on the left-hand corner right there. Sometimes I print it out for size, and that's what we're going to be doing in the left video to see like if the size is right. So what I do is this confuses a lot of people in class. So I take and I use these flat back CZs with a diamond cut. And so it's a little bit different than setting a pointed CZ. Actually uses less clay. And I also am testing my little leather thing, which I love. I made it and now I can't find it. But you do need to take into account the thickness of the leather, but the big problem is if it's too short.
Got it. Okay.
So, and leather is not that expensive, but I still, would prefer to get it right the first time.
Sure.
I learned from my mistakes, but my preference is not to make them. So, all right. So here's my flower. So what I would do in class is I would show people how to do this. And I also have metal clay samples, but being really big, especially the age that some of us are, large actually is a good example. So in this one, I decided I want these leaves stepped up a little bit. So I put I'll put a circle of clay under this, and then I'll do the same thing with the other one, and I'll turn it sideways.
Yeah, that looks cool.
So I could play with the design. This one, there's actually a way that I could flip those corners under, and that was a really cool design too. So then I want to show them, because they're used to pointed stones. Oh, and I'm going to curve it up too. You'll see in the final picture, you can curve paper. If you use watercolor paper, you can actually wet it and mold it. So, but here's the seat for the stone, which is slightly bigger than the size of the stone. And it sits down in there, and that's what I do with a larger stone. And then I put a little bezel on top, which is that bezel is how we trap the stone. And I make it a little bit smaller than the size of that stone, and it traps it in. And so in this, something this complicated in class, I probably would give every student one and then have a big one to show. And with the bead class, I do the same thing. I have giant bead patterns. But that's how see, I curved it a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
So, and with flexible clay, we can do that. Once we cut it out, if you've got flexible clay and you're careful, you can curve it up and just, really make
I love
a
it.
good design.
Now wait, see, Laura Hart wants to know. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Is that an inverted regular CZ?
It is.
Okay.
Cool Tools has these. I call them faceted flatback CZs. And as soon as I started bringing those to class for projects, my plain CZs didn't sell anymore because they're really pretty and they pick up a shine, and you can get them like between 3 millimeters and I think like 16 millimeters.
Yeah, I love it
So lots of
inverted,
sizes.
especially on that. Isn't that fun? Love that.
Well, you don't have to, with metal clay, you don't have to, the point is usually probably 2 to 3 millimeters. So you need clay in the back. So in
Mm-hmm.
this one, I'm using a little less clay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, just so you all know, I don't know how anyone would learn these machines without these kind of classes, frankly, because the machines, they're huge. It's very deep as far as what you can do with them. But I loved in that last video, and it is in that boot camp, where Cindy shows the difference between the embossed, the engraved, the filled, all those different things, what it looks like, so you can pick the right way you want to handle it. And yes, someone just said, is that boot camp from last year? Yes, but Cindy is also doing an update to it. No, wait, you're doing a new class that'll show some of the new things.
It's got some new things. I couldn't do another 3-day class, but it was really fun. And I've been rewatching it a lot to do the table of contents. And, it was really fun to do once I was done with it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I love to share these new techniques because I'll tell you, I learn something new like every week. It's like, look what this does. And
Yeah.
that's why preparing for these classes is a lot of fun. So if you are a paper artist, you could make a stunning brooch in paper.
Oh.
With a real
Yes.
CZ stone, because CZ stones are not that expensive. You can buy them from Cool Tools. And so,
Oh no,
it
gives you so many. You could, yeah. This is your template. You could cut it out of polymer. You could cut it out of paper clay. I mean, this is a thing. When you learn how to do this, it's go down the rabbit hole. All right, so
it's
now
fun.
I know. Okay, so I like the name of this video. Why does it matter? Okay.
So before we start running the video, let me tell you real quickly. I had a lot of students I've been doing this, I think about 7-8 years. About 3 years in, I had students starting to say their borders were off, or their etching didn't match with their cutting, even though it was right on the screen. And I think what happened is, you see the pretty border on this one piece? I started adding a border to pieces, and we started working small because small is really in right now. Those little earrings I did in that boot camp class, I love those earrings. I wear them all the time. So I'm going to show you why it matters and where we see it.
Okay,
so
sounds
let's go ahead
good.
and
Let me before I just start, let me do a quick question here. Julie, just you can get through to Cindy on Facebook. She just wants to know where you'll be teaching live again when we all start. I think, is that the best way to get on your announcements that way, Cindy, do you think?
Yeah. You can join MC Sillies, and if you've taken a class, I can put you in the private student group for CraftCast.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah, just send Sally a note, or send me a note on Facebook. But if you're an MC Sillies person, it's a little easier to get in. Facebook has made it a little difficult to be in a private, like secret group.
Right.
But we'll get you in there, and that is such a fun group. We have 500 members, and I do Facebook Lives, and there's a lot of really good information.
Yeah, it's all great. And Sally, or someone who's on, or maybe Mags, can you just put the link in the box there for Cindy's
MC Sillies?
Well, MC Sillies, and also the boot camp CraftCast, just because I didn't pull it up. I know it's in the handout. I just don't have the handout open because people are asking. I just want to make sure you get it. Totally a great class. All right, here, I'll play the video.
Okay. So I'm going to show you the average tool, right-hand tool, is off between 0.1 and 0.3 millimeters. So I'm going to show you what a 0.3 millimeter looks like. So I have an earring, and I'm going to duplicate it using the wonderful replicate tool. Oh no, the tool up at the top. I'll use replicate later. And I'm going to ungroup this. And then I'm going to take the pattern in the middle, and I'm just going to select that pattern shape, and I'm going to move it over 0.3 millimeters using a tool I don't use very much. And it's this little moving tool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say move to the left 0.3 millimeters. And it's not terribly noticeable. You know, it doesn't look visually off. And this is a pendant that's about 2.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do the same thing with the little 1-inch earring.
And you're saying that aligns it now the way it should be.
Well, I moved it over to show you what a difference looks like.
Got
but
it.
I'm going to
Okay.
show you what a difference looks like on the little earring, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's really noticeable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this is why I think people started to notice it. And I had noticed I have 2 machines that I have an adjustment on. So we're going to select this, and I'll move it over 0.3, and you'll see it's hugely noticeable.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, and with a little thing, if I want a pattern on it, my border's only like 1 millimeter. And the bigger things, the border is 2 millimeters. So look at the difference there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Really, really noticeable. And I'm going to show you on the beads, because the bead class, which is, there's a free bead bonus video, which works for paper or metal clay on Craftcast. We made the bonus for that class free, but on the bead classes, when people also started noticing it, I would get some notes from people. So if you're doing mostly large size projects, but you know, there's a lot of little things. So here I moved it over 0.3, not a big deal.
These are the things we need to learn from, Cindy. You know what I'm saying? And I just put in there the bootcamp link for everyone. I mean, you get every bit of information you need.
So see how that is really noticeable?
Mm-hmm,
so I was getting calls from people or notes from people, and they were saying, you know, it's perfectly aligned on the screen. What's happening? Well, we were working small, and once you start working small, you're going to see that difference. And the aligning, I've tried to do the video about 4 times, but I think I have it this time, and I'm going to show you how I do it. And it's amazing that this inexpensive machine allows you to do this alignment. It's almost like magic.
It is all magic.
We love our curios. We love our curios, and I would suspect Ellie or one of my other friends, I suspect this would work on the Cameo 3 also, which has dual holders.
Okay.
My Cameo 3 is not off, so I haven't tested it. Okay, so here I have my brand new Silhouette pens. This is the new version, and they're really, really pretty, and I think they work really well. And I write on I have 6 curios. I write on my curio if there's an adjustment to be made. It automatically is saving it, I believe, in the firmware for that machine, which is kind of magical too. I understand like enough to be dangerous how that works. But so you get your pen started anytime you're using Silhouette pens or other pens, but I like these new Silhouette pens are really nice. You get it started first with a little swirl, just like any pen, and lock it into place. Make sure it's sitting all the way down in the holder, and be gentle. Don't manhandle your machine.
Oh my gosh, those pen colors are just making me happy right there.
I know. There's some good prices out there on them too. So I'm going to load my mat with cardstock on it, and this is the Recollections cardstock. And I checked with Ellie, who's one of our curio gurus, and she said that's one of her favorite papers. It cuts really nice. The fibers are holding well together.
Okay.
So we have, I'm going to do some little circle tests. And I'm going to use pink for the left side holder, and that holder is stationary, so that's not what we're adjusting. Purple is for the right side holder, and this is the holder we're adjusting. And for metal clay, we cut with the left-hand holder and etch with the right-hand holder. So this is why our etching can look off.
It's making sense.
And with same thing with leather. You know, I cut with one holder and etch with another. So I had to put in the scale for Y versus X. I'm really good at math until we get to anything spatial, and then I'm not good at math. So I had a little X versus Y on the left. First time I did this with my friend Beth, it was really, really hard to adjust. So I think I've quantified how to make it easier. So you always want to be in millimeters, and you can't do it in inches and then go back because the tool alignment will not switch
Not
millimeters.
happy.
So
Okay.
always put yourself in millimeters first.
Okay.
When I started the video, I didn't do that, and I had a problem. And so I'm making a 1-inch circle, which is about 25 millimeters. And then I'm going to do an offset. And the general offset will give you 2 millimeters. And this is enough to show you when you put it on the paper if your machine is off.
Oh, got it. Okay, so 2 millimeters is a proprietary one that it goes to when you just ask for an offset.
It's just the automatic app.
Right. Okay.
And so I don't want you to have to change anything. So I'm putting, I ended up actually doing red in the middle because you couldn't see the purple very much. And then, or the pink. So I'm going to put purple on the outside.
Okay.
And then I'm going to center again because some of your mice tend to move your circles. So always center again and then group.
Got it. Okay.
And now I'm going to use the replicate tool and I'm going to make 4 of these. I'm thickening up the lines. Don't you do that, but I'm thickening up the lines so you can see it on the video. So don't do that though.
And everyone,
so
this is in the downloads. Cindy's already given you this little chart and an SVG
I'm giving
file.
you a file that has actually, it has 12 circles that you can just download. So I'm going to, just because I'm obsessive, it's not necessary. I'm lining them up. And then I'm going to turn these to brown. And if you take some of my metal play classes, you know, brown is the color I always use that we're putting on the screen, but we're not ever going to cut or etch with it. So I only want to deal with one circle at a time.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the first circle.
It's centered. Okay.
And we're going to go to the Send tab. And of course, I have all kinds of funny colors on there. So I'm going to uncheck all the browns. I don't know why I have 2. And then I'm going to leave on the right-hand holder, which is the one we're going to adjust, is purple. I'm going to choose the tool holder that's blue. And then on the left-hand holder, I'm going to choose red. And I'm using cardstock plain, and I've got it switched to cut. I did switch it to cut in real world. And so, no, it's on sketch. We're sketching. We're going to cut in a minute in the other video. So we're going to do this purple one first, and then it's going to do the pink one. And then we're going to zoom in, and I purposely made this one off more than this machine is so you can really see it. So let's put it up close.
Oh yeah, that's really off.
And you can see it's off to the left.
Yep.
And on a 1-inch project, this will make you crazy.
Yep.
So we need to adjust to the left. That's going to be a positive adjustment. So I don't know why it's a positive adjustment, but it is. So, and I gave you a nice table for later. So I want to fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to turn this one to brown because I'm done with this one.
Got it. At the end, did you say the machine will hold this correction? When you
it will for this machine.
Okay.
And even if the machine isn't saved in there, because when I went and got one of the machines that was off, and I plugged it in, and it wasn't saved under my Sun settings, but when I plugged it in and it went to the tool alignment, it had the proper adjustment in it.
Okay, so that's what you meant before. It went right to the firmware. It's saved at a lower level than.
Yeah, it saves actually in the software. Your machine has software.
Yeah.
So it saves it in the machine. This is, Silhouette is very sophisticated in a lot of ways. So then I'm going to go to the Send tab, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. But I'm going to go to tool alignment, and I had made it off -20, and I know +10 is right. So I'm going to put the +10 in there. On some of your machines, when you do this, and I'm going to hit tab and enter, make sure it enters.
Yep.
And so I noticed on some of my machines, it'll actually do a little click.
Oh, so you hear it actually move a little bit.
So, yeah, this one I didn't, but it still worked because you'll see it's kind of like magic. We're going to hit exit. And then we're going to send again, and you're going to see what happens.
Oh gosh, this is so worth doing and having all these little samples so you're not crazy when you do your actual project.
Yeah, especially if you're doing beads and things. Like a lot of people do paper beads, and if you're only using one holder, it's fine. But I like to use two holders. I like to do multicolor things. Um, I like to use the dual holder system. I really, really like it, and I'm so glad that the Cameo 3 now has it.
We can see already. There you go.
So look what happened.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
amazing
Yep.
or what?
Yep. That's fabulous.
So what you would do now is if I only do one axis at a time. So and I always start with the x-axis because that's more likely to be off. But if it were off up and down, then I would move to the y-axis.
Got
And
it.
next
Okay.
screen, we're going to show you a little chart I put together, which I hope will explain exactly how to adjust. But so that is how you do it. And I have had several people, I've been trying to work on this, and I've done lives with people online and Zoom. But I wanted to really get a comprehensive overview of how it works. And I think we're there, I hope.
That's genius. And this is included in in this, when you get it in your library, under the downloads where the handout is, you'll also see that SVG file and a little chart, a little sign that shows you like this, what to do.
Yeah, the chart is actually in the handout.
Yes, correct. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah. So I put together, and because I'm not spatial, this was a challenge, but I put together a little example about, so if your purple line is too close to the red line, then you're going to increase by 0.10 millimeters at a time. If it's too far away, you're going to do negative adjustments. On the x-axis, if the purple line is too close to the bottom, you're going to increase by 0.1 millimeters. And if the purple line is too far, you're going to decrease by 0.1 millimeters. We do it 0.1 millimeters at a time. Don't ever try to adjust both axes at once. That's what Beth and I did when we were first trying to adjust hers.
Good tip.
And we scrapped it and went back. Now, I do have one student, Tanya, who her machine, I think we adjusted it back and forth so many times, not in a methodical way, that it just wouldn't adjust. So I would say when you get close, stay there. Don't adjust it like 50 times. I think we just overloaded the machine. So what she does, if you can't get this adjustment to work, which she's the only one I know who can't, you can put your etcher and your cutter in the left-hand holder.
Genius. Okay, let me take a few quick questions. Mags put up, here's a good bundle sale, you guys, for, let's see, Cura bundle with those sketch pens. I'm going to send it all to you. Mags just put in the code and all of that, if you want to check that out. We love that. Thank you, Mags. It is fabulous, right? Thank you, Katie. Let's see, Cindy, can you mention the Cameo 3? Would it be the same with the Cameo 4 that she just got for Mother's Day? Yeah, special.
I do not have a Cameo 4. Allison has one, and she can try it on it.
Not without Cindy holding my hand through every step.
Yeah, I have so much work with my Cameo 3 and I love the idea of the long holder, though, and the Curios. The Curios are still my favorite just because we always load in the right place.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a little foolproof in a lot of respects once you understand it.
Yeah.
So I love the Curio.
This is a good question. Monica said, Cindy, if you adjust in one place on the mat, will it be effective for the whole mat area? I've had a different print result on the lower right portion of the mat. Interesting, Monica.
I don't, it may be because of the way the carriage is moving. I find on my 12-inch mat and on this one, the lower right-hand holder corner and the lower bottom on the 8.5 by 12 mat is kind of problematic. And it may be just because of the way the platform moves back and forth. It may be a weight issue.
That's
so I often, with metal clay, I'll stick up at the top, and I try to stick in the middle. But all these across the top will work.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, we could ask one of our really smart friends like Kay Hall, but I bet it has to do with the mat moving. It's just doesn't have as much control in that area because it's not solid.
How heavy a material you have on the mat. Like
Could also.
I put slate on mine. I mean, you put slate on it, it's heavy. So that gear system is having to move a lot of weight. So I think sometimes that makes a difference. But
Wait,
general
listen.
rule for metal clay, I stay in the
Here
middle
is
until I.
Kay Hall is on. Thank you,
Oh,
Kay. She
yay,
said,
Kay.
yay, Kay, yay. She says, if you have that problem with the tool holders, you may need a distance adjustment.
Ah.
Okay, so
Well,
we
I
have to
would
look
love
into
to
that.
have Kay explain all the other adjustments. This is the one I understand,
Hmm, hmm.
but Kay, because Kay's an engineer and
Yes,
she's really smart,
yes,
she understands them all.
she does. She
I
is. Thank
understand
you
this
for that,
one.
Kay. Uh, and we'll talk. Maybe you want to come on and show us all those kind of adjustments. Yeah, Kay is amazing at this. All right, so let's move on here. We're going to go to testing our cutouts.
Okay, so I also test my cutouts for size and workability. Like, does the project actually work
Okay.
in real life? And I hate to make something in metal clay and find out it doesn't work. Metal clay can be very expensive. Even if you're using base metals, it's a lot of work to get to the final piece. So here are a bunch of designs I've been doing for some of the lives and for the class I didn't get to do in Tucson, but they'll get to do it maybe next year. And so I wanted to kind of test these all in paper. These were not all already designed to go to the printer. They mostly have pictures in them, but I always want to make sure there's a red outline around it. And so you see each one has a red outline. And some of you know the one right to the right, which we'll get to in a minute, I think. Oh, I'm putting an outline around and I'm moving putting a hole in them. Because a lot of them, if they're not already designed for the curio, I'm just testing to see if I want to go that route.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, you'll have to add a hole because where the hole is important. Also, where which clay you're using.
Right.
So what I'm doing is I'm centering the hole and then I'm grouping the hole only with that outside red. And I'll show you another way to do that later in a minute. And then I group the whole thing together because once you get things centered, group them. Because
Yeah.
you're sometimes you'll accidentally just grab that outside and make it off center. I did that once with a class with Holly Gage, and she said, "Cindy, that looks off to me." And I said, "No, it can't be off." And what happened is I hadn't grouped it together, and I moved it a little bit.
You didn't even
She
realize it.
helped me. Yeah, she helped me redesign it so the asymmetry of the piece looked okay. But I don't have the best eye, so I don't necessarily notice that. Control E is a shortcut for make compound path. You can also go under object to make compound path.
And anyone who's freaking out by hearing these terms, that's why it's great to take, beginner classes and just start, and they'll become familiar to you. I promise you.
Yeah, the version 4 class is a good one.
Yes.
And I
correct.
think that even if you have a kiln, the torch fired earrings class is pretty good. I actually designed a lot of that for people that already knew the SIL software, but I think I cover it step by step.
Mm-hmm,
And I'm
mm-hmm.
thinking about doing some really, really basic classes, I think, for each tool. I think it's a good idea. So this one, I thought it'd be really fun to have a little cutout in it. And my hope was that I could put the ear wire at the top. So I'm doing this test to see if that's going to work.
Okay.
And then
I love the design.
I also thought it would be a little pointy on the sides with that size where it might hit my neck. So I want to actually these are all post shrinkage, and you could do the same thing with leather. If you're going to do something in a leather piece, a lot of you work with leather. You can also test in paper first.
Oh, that would be great in leather, that earring. I love that.
It would. I should try that.
Yeah, very nice.
And these ones to the right, these are my new favorite earrings. Of all the designs I've done, I'm very excited to make these in metal clay. They remind me a little bit of some of the earrings that we did in the torch fired earrings class that has cutouts, because I'll tell you, when a metalsmith, sometimes they'll look at my work when it has cutouts and they'll like, "You are such a good SAR." And it's like, no.
Right. A jeweler's saw.
I
Yeah, no. Just say yes.
especially when to make two look the same. And then they look at me and they say, "You used your machine, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." So I decided this was a little too close to the top. And so some of these adjustments I'm doing before I even cut it out, just to
Mhm,
make sure
mhm.
that it's close. And I use a little line to say, how close to the top is it now? And it's,
1.97
yeah,
millimeters. Okay.
yeah. So it's 2 millimeters from the top. I think that's okay because this is probably going to be fine silver. But if you're doing things in sterling silver, obviously you can make it a little bit closer to the top because it's stronger.
Okay.
You'll see I made a little mistake here, and I didn't notice till I was rewatching. I'll make it a compound path,
Mm-hmm.
but I lost the little dot at the bottom. I didn't go far enough down. And you'll
Oh,
see it when we actually do the cutout.
okay.
I didn't notice, and then I checked on the cutout. Like, oh, that was off that.
Okay.
That's probably where a stone will go. So you never have to do anything twice because you can just mirror or replicate. So I'm going to mess around and put holes in some of the others. And then these ones, I really like the purple ones, but I'll tell you, I think the top is going to be problematic. I didn't even put a hole in it because I couldn't really figure out, but I'm going to look at it when it prints out and think about what I want to do.
Okay.
Okay, here's my other way to make a hole, and I think this is easier. So Kay will like this because we're going to use the modify tools, and they're my favorite. So I'm going to take and draw a little circle, and I like my ear wire circles to be like 1.5, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I don't actually cut them with the silhouette, I do always put a mark on there because I'm not very good at centering. So let's see if we can center this to the earring. It's an asymmetrical shape, and I will tell you, no, it won't center
Nope.
across the
Nope.
middle.
Nope. Nope.
So I'm going to hit undo, and I'm going to center it by eye. And you could you could actually use your little ruler to see how far it is. But I think I've got it pretty good centered by eye. And then I'm going to select both. I'm going to use this amazing modify tool. So modify is the one with a little circle and this rectangle down at the bottom right. I'm just going to say subtract,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates a hole. And it's going to subtract the last shape you made. So the shape that's on the top. And I'm going to group it. And I
Yeah,
think that's a
that's
nice
a great way. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because it actually put a little hole by the pattern. Now, a lot of times I'll make a little border around the hole when I'm designing for the curio, but this is just to test the pieces. And I'll do some additional work when I'm ready to actually commit them to metal clay.
Let me see if we can stick a quick question in. How thick is the clay? Barbara wanted to know.
It depends on the piece. With clay that is, I'm using sterling silver, which I do with a lot of my light earrings. I'm doing 2.5 cards, which is, I think, 0.67 millimeters thick.
Okay.
If it's a tiny earring, I can go thicker, but I don't like them heavy. So even with fine silver, I'm going 3 cards probably.
All right. You're setting up your mat. We've been watching you set up here.
So in order to print it, this is where I told you I have to switch it to 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to have to turn it. And I said, I'm going to use letter size, which is what's in my printer. And I used to always have a problem with printing out, but this actually works. And then I'm going to print it. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go to preferences and make sure it's up and down, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of printouts print out the wrong way. And so I'm going to print this onto cardstock. I need to get a new printer for the t-shirt class I'm doing because the color printing just isn't as good as it should be. So we're going to print it, and then we're going to go on to the next video.
All right. Let's sit here for 1 second because I'm reading these questions that are good.
Oh, okay.
Beth, let's see. Is your curio is on a table that's on a carpet? It can create instability. Oh, that makes the setching be off. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
a hard surface is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you what I do with my platforms. I take double-sided tape, not the good stuff, just Scotch brand, because you do want to actually have to remove it. And I tape my first platform to the big heavy, my first slat to the platform, and I put tape in between, and that seems to make it more stable. And I think in the torch fired earrings class, I show how I do that. But I feel like, but I one time used the really good scrapbooking tape and I couldn't get anything removed. So don't use good stuff. Some occasionally, the less strong version works better. So
right.
I've also done a little test cut, a little circle that's in a different color. So all my cut lines are red, but I have a little green circle there. Which I end up moving because the filming wasn't perfect. So
okay. So we got it all set up. All right, while it's setting up, we're going to the page setup. I'll hold for the question. We don't want to miss anything here. So you got your mat set up. It's a pen question. So you got your orientation. Okay.
Because when I printed, I wanted to know it's a Curio 8.5 by 6. And I didn't use the 12 because I know most of you just have the 8.5 by 6 platform. And then I'm going to go to the page setup and we're going to uncheck the red ones because I want to test it, especially if you're using different papers. I like to test it before. And I'm going to uncheck, and I didn't uncheck the red. I look always over to the left. And it's a wonderful thing about the SIL software. What you're going to work on is lit up. So I only want to do that little test circle to make sure it cuts all the way through.
Oh,
and
the
I'm
paper.
going to do
got
cards.
It. Okay.
Yeah. Because I hate to do all the work and have it not cut.
Sure. No, testing is worth it.
And you can do it with metal clay. This is how I do my tests. There is a test function too, but I find this a little bit easier.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've used the test function.
Yeah. This, I can put it where I want, and I just find it a little easier to do. I've done it with leather too. So I did move it because I did it 3 times. And so I'm just going to pull it up and make sure it cut through, and it cut beautifully. Paper cuts really nicely, as long as you keep sharpening your blade. Make sure your clips are down. One of my clips had been up.
Right. Sharpened blade. Yep. Okay.
So now I can go on and cut everything. So I'm going to click on the reds, but if any of you are members of my Silly Questions group and some of my classes, there's something called Stop Before You Send. Always check your user-defined settings. In the version I'm on, there is a little thing where if you click a second time, it'll go back to the first setting. So I had one of these wrong, even though it had been right to start with. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to choose cardstock plain. I'm going to make sure it says cut. And then I'm going to go down to the big box and look at it. And then I'm going to make sure my pressure goes up. Usually I use 23 to 25 with collections paper.
Okay.
And so let's cut it all.
All right, before I run this, let me get some questions in here. Margaret wanted to know, are the pens for both the Curio and the Cameo the same? After taking
They are.
Okay, your class last year, you bought Curio metal clay leather package from Cool Tools, but it didn't come with pens. So you can use the two of them. It looks like they're new pens with new colors. Is that right at all?
These are new pens. And you know what, I was a little nervous because it said Cameo 4 on it, but they work fine in my Curio. So there are I don't know a lot about the Cameo 4. Maybe Kay can pop in, but there are some converting holders. So like I think that some of they aren't two identical tool holders, and I think that there is a way to put the pens in with a new size. But these worked beautifully. And they've been sitting around waiting for something like this to do. And you can do cards. You can do so many different things with them. But
great colors. I mean, and the color comes out as great as those caps look.
Yeah. And I just feel I have the other ones, but I I like these new ones a little bit better. And you can tell the difference. They're designed a little bit differently. I love Silhouette because they do redesign. I think they've changed who their provider is on some of the, and I'm always a fan of a company that kind of looks at it and redesigns things. So these are the new and improved pens.
The colors do look great. Jerry wants to know, can all of these earrings be cut out in leather without adjustments in the design?
Yes.
Okay, can I have them all? Is my next question.
You know, I don't have
my address? You want my address? That's what you want.
Well, we can make you some, Allison. I think
Okay.
you could get away with that. But I don't have an account as an artist on the design store, but I have things prepared to go there, and earrings will be there. I will have to test them in leather first, though, and in faux leather. My daughter took a class at the last All Things Silhouette, and she took the faux leather cutting class, and we have lots of it here because she was quite enamored with the Silhouette.
Now, Beth wants to know, no, you're only using these pens to etch, not to etch the designs. This is just your print and cut.
No, that's a good question, Beth, because I used to do the design with the pens, but I found this is so much easier. Just print it out. It prints like in 30 seconds and then cut it out. And because when I did it with the pen, the tip of the pen was thicker than the lines on the design. So this is a good way to do it. Like in the first video, though, if you've set it up to go on metal clay or leather, you have to fill the design with black for the printer to see it.
Right. Otherwise, it sees nothing.
Yes, it sees anytime there's a line thickness in a design, it shows nothing. And what I did with this one is the line thickness for the reds were nothing, so they're not showing on the printout.
Right.
But that is what is cutting, is that red line that is a 0 thickness.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So it just shows, but it doesn't cut. I mean, I'm sorry, yes. It doesn't show, it just cuts.
Yes. And I put the whole thing here because I knew we'd have questions.
Yes, you were right to do that for sure. Monica wants to know, the second one from the left on the top row would be Awesome Kambu. Second one on the top. Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm kind of playing around with leaving, like putting less design on things and leaving bright, shiny parts open or parts where you can Kambu. And Pam East has really great Kambu class.
She does. She does.
And the pieces in that class are just beautiful. Yeah. I've done a little bit of Kambu. I know enough to be dangerous, but yeah, the pieces that she shows in that class are just stunning. And it does make a difference. Kambu, which is adding gold to silver, is a way to add a color or dimension to silver. Because silver, I think, can sometimes be a little boring, even if you patina it. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling up all of these. Pretty. And because you braid it down, the part that's cut is sticking to the mat. And that's what you want. That's the reason I braid it down. Of course, I'm going with my favorites first to see how that cut. And look at it, cut it out.
That's
and
great.
You could do paper earrings, guys. I think you could do amazing paper earrings.
Well, think about it. You could do great ornaments. You could do great favors for a party. I mean, you can think this through to have all kinds of fun things.
And if you have, if you're doing custom work, you could show someone a paper cutout, and they could put it up by their ear and see if they like it. I like custom work, but as long as you have a meeting of the minds, it's really, really important.
That's really great. All right, so now I'm just checking for questions. Beth wanted to know about the registration idea, which of course you could do as well. You're going to start showing us that in the upcoming.
I'll show that in the t-shirt class. I haven't taught it before, but I learned it for All Things Silhouette. I did a printable heat transfer vinyl class, and you have to do registration marks, and it really is pretty easy. So I'll try to make it easy for people. It's also, if you're doing something that you need perfect alignment, these may not be cut out exactly perfectly, even though I placed them on the mat. registration marks is the way to do it. And I'll show a little section on that in the t-shirt class.
I love them all cut out this way.
Oh, I do too. It's like Christmas without having to do all the work. So here is where I'm going to assess my designs. So I'm going to put little ear wires in them. These ones, I did a little something in the student group called Just the Basics, and talked to people about practicing and just how to do the basics. And this was the earring from that. And I did it, I had like the earrings, 10 different designs. And this is one of the ones that people liked. So I'm looking at it and making sure I'm happy with the size. And I think actually I will take the size down on this. I thought it was a little large. I like small earrings for the most part. So I'm going to take the size down. This one I really, really liked, but in hanging it up, I felt like I want more of a thinner dangle. So two things I thought of when looking at this. I'm going to skinny it up. And I also think I want to do one that follows the curve, like one that's wavy. So, and really when it's on the screen, I don't always think of those things. But when I'm actually touching it and working with it. So here's the one where I wanted to put the ear wire on the top and just hang it. And that is an epic fail. It's like a little too thick, but if I thinned it up, it would be problematic with it being as strong as I want it to be. And I tried drilling a hole on another copy, and it wasn't big enough for a hole. So I'm going to show you how I fix that in the software.
That could be a cute one with a post as well. I think the other thing is when you hold it up to your face, depending on your haircut or not haircut at the time, the earring looks different. Those look great. I love that one.
This is my favorite, and I've been really excited about making it. A little bit similar to that pentagon shaped one I did for the torch fired earrings class, and that definitely it'll have a stone at the bottom instead of a hole. And this one, although this is not as heavy as metal clay, I can also see if I like the hanging of an asymmetrical shape. And I usually don't do a lot of asymmetry, but I'm playing around with it. And this pattern is one of the patterns I'll be teaching people in the Silk Camp 2020. So yeah, I like the way it moved, and I think that one's going to be good. And the wire is good enough for I always want the hole to be where the earring will swing. I like the earrings to have movements. And this one, it's like, there's no way I can fit anything in there.
Yep.
So we're going to fix that too on screen.
See, that could be a post earring.
Oh, it would be a great post earring. I hadn't really, I need to do, my mother will only take post earrings for me. And I need to do a class.
Yeah, I love that one as a post. I think that's great. All right, so now we're just going to go through, no, we have one more video before we go through those.
So this is how I fixed those things.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to the design tab and say, I'm going to fix those things that I had a problem with. First one I'm going to fix is these earrings that are not going to be quite right. So I'm going to copy to a new shape because I don't have room to play around in this one. I'm going to copy it to a new tab. My design files, this one looks reasonable, but they have stuff all over. So a lot of times when I'm actually getting to the point where I'm going to make something,
you copy and paste to a clean.
Yeah. So with this one, I'm going to actually skinny it up a little bit. I'm not going to go through how to design it to be a swirl, but you could just take from the right and skinny it up. And this swirl is actually one of the things I'm going to teach in Design Camp 2.
Isn't that great that you can just compress?
Yeah. It works. So that'll just be slightly thinner, more of a dangle and less boxy.
On design.
I think it'll work. So this one I'm going to ungroup because I don't want to do anything with the pattern. And I'm going to make a little, like a circle at the top with a hole in it. So I'm creating an ear wire I could have thickened up the top, but I really like the curve. So, I'm going to do internal offset, which gives me another hole. And I want the hole to be, I like everything to be about 1.5, 2 millimeters from the edge. So that works pretty good. I'm going to make those a compound path. Didn't have to center because when you do an internal offset, it's automatically centered. And I'm going to put it where I want, and then I'm going to select the outside shape, just making sure I didn't have the pattern centered, and I'm going to weld them together.
Very cool.
And what it does is it brings it to the front, so I have to
Send it to the back. Yeah, that's
I
great.
didn't lose it. So that's going to work good, I think. I'll do this again in paper, though, just to be sure. And then you, of course, use replicate to mirror to the left, which is great.
Yeah, that's a replicate and mirror. What great functions are those?
And modify. We're going to use the modify panel again in a minute on fixing those other earrings. But again, you gave me a good idea because I could shrink some of these down and make post earrings.
Yeah, I love them as posts. You know, maybe everyone on here is already really good with the SIL software. You know, I forget when I'm away from it from a while, but it really is a great software to work with for all these different things. And go for which is the one you pay for so you can save it as SVGs. I always get them. It's a designer
or
business
version.
Business. Spend the money for the first one's free. Spend the money for the next one, because then when you can save it as an SVG, you can bring it into your Cricut. I don't know if Kay's still on. She might know. Kay, can you bring them into Brothers? What was that called? Something and Cut? Print and Cut SVGs. I don't know the answer to that, and Kay might know. So it gives you so much that you can do then.
So what I'm doing is I drew a little oval, and I'm going to ungroup everything and then just choose the red cutout shape, because I'm going to try to make a space where I can actually put that hole in. So I'm going to select them both in center. So I select the reds, which is the cutouts, and center. And, you know, I always, in my student group, if you take the version 4 class, which is the one I recommend to learn the software, I do videos all the time for people if they don't understand something in the student group. So a student group is worth the price of admission, I think. So there we go. I just curved that up a little bit, so now I can drill a hole right there. So, you know, I think that's a better option than making the rim skinnier. So there we go.
Lovely. Okay, Miss Hall said yes. Brother Scan and Cut can use SVGs. So there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, learning the software and then try it out on your machines. You know, that's the thing, is having that universal file to be able to use with your different machines. And there's things you have to know.
Kay knows a lot about all the machines, and it's really, really helpful because I get a lot of questions. I made that a compound. Oh no, I subtracted it like I taught you in the other video.
Okay,
so there
cool.
we go. The earring's ready. So I will probably reprint those in paper and
to make sure
that I'm happy with them. Put them up against my ear. I did actually skin this one up a little bit because it was the point was hitting the edge of my neck. Got it. So there we go. I hope that was fun, guys.
Oh my gosh. All right. So listen, this is just a quick, you will see it in the video here. This is just what's in Design Camp day 1.
I was
day 2.
Trying to someone asked me in the group where they could learn about something, and I went and put together a table of contents for 2018, which I think is really, really helpful. Yep. So it tells you what is in each part, and then all the bonus. There's 6 bonuses in that class, and the leather bonus. If you work with leather, that leather bonus is amazing. And
then coming soon in July, we're going to do that. All your things are amazing.
And then here's the design appendix that I'm trying to stop now, that I've been working on the last couple months for SIL Camp 2020. But we're going to show you pictures of some of the things, and I'll give you a quick overview, and then we'll be done. We're going to do a layered piece. I think this is really cool. Kind of an organic layered piece, and that'll be a project too. I'm going to show you some easy drawing in the SIL softwares. This was an iris we did for a design challenge for MetaPlay Now, and I think this will be a good one just to show you how I drew that in the SIL software. And we're going to do a lentil that is this optical illusion technique I'm going to teach you. I've come up with 2 new ways to do organic shapes, so I'm going to show you those, and you get a slightly different outlook.
Very cool.
I'm going to teach you this little quilt piece, how to create this crazy looking pattern for the pattern fill directory.
Love these.
I'm going to teach you this cool square technique using something new in version 4.3. And here's the swirls that you saw in the earrings. So I made a pattern with them. I made just a strip that we can use with earrings. I love swirls, and I love the swirly patterns are some of the ones I gravitate towards a lot. And then we're going to do this, some of these interesting warp swirl things. And here's the swirls again, a couple different ones.
All right, we're going to finish up showing this because we love this.
Well, I love Suzanne McNenly's paper alignment technique. And I wanted to show you, I speak a little bit about that, always talking about Suzanne's class.
It's genius what she thought up. And that class, there's a link in the handout. It's a great class. And that's what Cindy ended up doing, learning from that, the alignment. And then I did make one of these.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're just, and plus she does there's a little tiny tutorial about using silver metal clay.
Yeah.
She put in a silver rose. So, and it's a really cute technique.
It is. And I love that. And then she, of course, made these beautiful boxes. She doesn't do this anymore. She's moved on to other kinds of work, but it's great. And it's paper. You know, you can add your little embellishments, but you learn how she does that. And it's really great. That's in your handout too, that link for her class, but it's very enjoyable. You know, it's endless what you can do with these machines. Here we go again. It's down our rabbit hole that we love to go.
It's fun because paper's inexpensive and you can do some really cool things with it. So this is a good class to and it's in an older version of the software, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to follow it because
it's not that different.
It's not really complicated designing.
Right. Yeah, no, it's great. And don't forget to use your coupon code. You'll save money on everything.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
And I will have my classes up, I promise, this week.
There you go. So just make sure you stay on our mailing list. You guys, thank you so much for coming. If we missed any of your questions, boot camp will be in, let's see, include everything that was in 2018. No, it'll only be new stuff in 2020, Lisa.
But you might want to watch the boot camp beforehand, because I will probably refer to a few of the
right. She is stinking amazing. I like what Kareem just wrote. Does Photoshop do SVGs? Shoot, does it do SVGs? I don't think it does, Margaret. I think you have to go to I think you have to use Illustrator for SVGs. Why don't I know that? I'm in Photoshop all day long.
You're right.
I think it's Illustrator, not Photoshop.
There are conversions.
There are conversions. There are. Yep, there are ways. Because I remember Ms. Hall there, she had a lot of conversion things going on, but I think you have to use Illustrator, not Photoshop.
But you can take a regular picture, and I talked a little bit about Capture about 5 Fun ones ago. I think the second or third one we did. Okay. And Capture will actually convert a photo to an SVG that you can export.
Okay, Sid, here's the answer. Photoshop CC 15 or later can export the SVGs as long as you have a path. There you go. There's the key part. You have to have that path to do that. Thank you, Kay. So there you go, everyone. Just stay on the mailing list. Check us out on Facebook. You'll get all the information. You'll get a follow-up email about today's class. I think you should make this over in your SIL questions, this table of contents, so that everyone can see that.
Oh, it's there.
It's there. Okay, great. Yeah. So that's where you can get it, and just, or you can be seeing what I'm doing right now and pause the video and see everything.
It's one of the downloads. You'll get a file for testing your
Oh, right,
alignment,
right. It's
and
one of the
you'll get a
downloads. You're right.
download of
It's in the
this table
downloads.
of contents.
You'll get it all later on. So you'll get an email later today showing you how to find today's recording. Come back next week because resin. Hello, resin. Also, let me just show you one more thing because this blew me away, and you all are into the metal clay, of course. Last week's class with Julia Ray was unbelievable, and she did. And people said, even if you're not a beginner, this was still great. I'm making this right now with the little pearl inside. She did a great class on making these charms. And the bonus is how to add half drilled beads or pearls. It was amazing.
I love those.
Yeah, I do too. Anyway, I just want to let you all know that. Unbelievable. And Lydia, thank you. Oh, Inkscape will take SVGs too, and it is free. I did do Inkscape. I think it's a lot to undertake Inkscape, and there's some glitches in it when you're running on a Mac, especially two screens. But we work around all these things. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for coming. You know the drill. We're back again here next week. You got your coupon code. Any questions, just over to support@craftcast.com. Thank you, Ms. Pope, for sharing all that information. That was truly amazing.
My pleasure.
All right, hon. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, hon.